Live from the Sinister District and the great beyond. Good evening, everyone, everything, and all creatures of the night. I am Michael Ball, alongside Mr. Cribbs. Tonight, a fully awake ET encounter in a college fraternity. Stay right where you are. You're listening to the Sinister District. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sinister District. Another day, another week, and today is a good one. We are joined with Mr. Curbs. How are you?
What's up?
And I am your host, Michael Paul. So, we are here with a special guest. He goes by the name of E. He had a pretty scary encounter. I read this one. I thought was really unique and cool. So he says that he saw like an extraterrestrial being, and it's kind of like a humanoid as well, kind of like last week, but it's not demonic that we think of, but we don't really know. So here is E. Welcome, E, to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, y'all. I'm super excited to get to share this one, and really appreciate y'all taking the time.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. So tell us your story. How did it start?
Yeah, totally. So I kind of gave you a rundown, but basically this happened back in college. I want to say this is probably 2013 or 14, I'd imagine. And I was living with a big group of people. I was actually in a frat house at the time, and so had about probably 10 to 12 roommates or what have you, something like that. And I was went to bed the night before, and I had an early class earlier in the next morning, and I woke up and it was nighttime still, and so I thought to myself, well, hey, if it's if I woke up and it's close enough to my alarm, I might as well just kind of stay up and get ready for the day. So I thought I'd check my phone and figure if I had enough time to sleep or if I should just bite the bullet and get up and start prepping for the class, So I woke up and I wound up checking my phone, and it said about 3:14 a.m. if memory serves. And that was clearly, I was like, oh, I have plenty of time to sleep, so I'm definitely gonna,
I'm going back
out
to bed. That's me
1,000%, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And so I wound up laying back down, and when I did, I kind of looked at the ceiling, and I noticed a bunch of what I'd describe as just green little lights moving in formation, like very organized, in and out of these patterns that slightly resembled stars and circles and squares, just kind of geometric patterns weaving in and out, made by what looked like 1,000 little green laser pointers. Is like the closest thing I could probably compare it to. And it just caught my eye, and obviously I was like, wow, that is super weird. And my initial inclination was that maybe something was shining through my bedroom window and refracting light. We lived kind of next to a street, and my window faced other houses and stuff like that. So my initial thought was maybe something shining through the window and kind of causing this really interesting, cool pattern on my ceiling. And so the window that would have potentially been coming from was behind my head. So I sit up and I look out that window trying to see if I can find a source of the light. And I didn't see a dang thing. I didn't see any people out there. I didn't see any car lights or anything like that. And I looked for what probably was about 10 or 15 seconds, just really trying to figure it out, because I thought it was really cool, honestly. And when I couldn't figure it out, I turned back towards the door, like preparing to lay back down. And when I did, I saw this figure in my room that was clearly taller than the door frame. I want to estimate it was probably like 7-ish, maybe 7 and some change feet tall.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was humongous. It was silhouette-ish in terms of like I couldn't make out a lot of features on it or anything. But it definitely had dimension. Like it was a 3-dimensional being, you know, in this room that I'm looking at. And my body's initial reaction was just, there's a 7-foot tall dude, huge dude in my room.
Right.
And I was just about to, you know, yell for all the homies and start, you know, whooping butt for lack of a better word. Like that's kind of where my brain went to. But this thing was humongous, and its head was the only thing that struck me as unhuman, like of like the proportions of the body, was this head, which was just humongous, like even for what was a very big frame, you know. There's someone breaking into my room, time to go into action mode and you know, scrap with this dude or whatever. It's this humongous head just immediately shifted towards me, like looking at me, which was kind of jarring because it was so dark in there. I couldn't tell it wasn't already looking at me initially, you know? So seeing the head move was that was the first time I felt like fear, as opposed to like, you know, I was obviously scared seeing it, but I was more kind of in this fight mode than flight, you know? And when this head finally turned at me, I just felt like my whole body was like cramping at the same time, just this electric feeling while sitting up in my bed. And I just had lost complete control of my body. And it forced me from the sitting position to just ever so slowly start laying down. And I just felt my, you know, the top half of my body just slowly descend back to a laying position.
Right.
And as I did, this thing just slowly like crept out of my sight. And then I was just sitting there vibrating, you know, feeling unable to move for a while. And I suddenly snapped out of it. And I immediately woke up everyone in the house, and I checked the time, and it had only been a couple minutes, which kind of reinforced to me that this was a real thing, you know what I mean? I had this like, it was one of the proofs to me that I wasn't just going insane for a second or dreaming this up or what have you, you know. And I think it said 3:16 when I looked at the clock again, and man, I just woke up everyone in the house and we did a full, you know, perimeter check and stuff. My room was kind of by a fire escape, so I figured that the person had probably got access via that.
Oh, okay. Were they mad at you when you wake up everybody, or?
Certain, you know, you're closer to certain people than others, like when you live with so many
That's
people
right.
like that. So certain people were very understanding, and others were like, come on, dude, it's 3:00 in the morning. Like some probably had just gotten to bed, you know what I mean? It's a frat house, so
Yeah.
people were partying and stuff, and so I'm sure some people were like, you know, come on. But I think they could just tell how serious it was to me in that moment, and just I'm sure I looked pale as a ghost, and you know, looked like I'd just seen something that, you know, it's really hard to describe, but people can really tell when it's you know, I think they could tell how the severity of the situation in my brain and how urgent it was for us to check this out, you know.
And right, they said that something like this has happened before, like different entities, or what happened?
So it's we've had a couple incidences in this house that other people had witnessed, but and again, you know, I kind of take those with a grain of salt, being that I'm not the person that actually witnessed those other events. But I've heard from some people that I would consider trustworthy. They didn't see an entity per se, but they did have some strange stuff happen. Typically, like during vacations and stuff like that, when everyone goes back home, there's always like 1 or 2 people that stay in the frat house because they either didn't want to go home or they had some stuff to do in town, or, you know, what have you. They wind up being one of the few people. It's one of the few times where it's not a full house, you know. And someone said one time they were chilling in their room, and there's probably like, you know, I want to say there was like 12 to 15 rooms or whatever. And they heard this like really loud bang when they were the only person staying in the house. And they went to check it out, and just every door in the house was open. Like every bedroom door was just wide open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were pretty shaken by that. And I think that they chose not to stay there alone after that. You know, I actually moved out of the frat house completely after my event. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't super religious at the time, but I was like, whatever happened, I don't know if it's the place. I don't know if it's my mental state. Whatever evoked this entity to come visit me, I was like, I'm trying to change something. So they knew it was real serious, because I broke the contract that I had signed to, like, you know, you have to live in for a certain amount of time or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't, do you guys swear on this show? Am I allowed to swear?
We're allowed to swear.
We'll bleep it out.
Okay, cool.
Since when do we bleep out swears?
Don't want to get our show down, do we?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll try my best. But I swear we've had swears on this.
I swear we had swears on this show.
But regardless, I was out. I was completely. I'd left, and I honestly, they didn't see a lot of me after that. So kind of just it changed my life in a direction that it wouldn't have otherwise gone, I think.
Has anything like this ever happened to you before, or is this like the first time you're just like, I'm not dealing with this?
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen an entity per se. I feel like I've encountered stuff where, you know, I definitely have been a believer for a long time before and after this, you know, and there's moments in the woods where, you know, you get that feeling of being watched, or like the sudden silence in the woods that's kind of often associated with like Sasquatch sightings and stuff like that. But I've never seen something where I was like, this is right in front of me, I'm, you know, clear as day. That was the first time that I've had a close encounter with something like that, for sure.
Do you have any clue of what you think it was? You think it's an ET?
Yeah, I've honestly, that's been the hardest part of the whole thing, as far as the identification aspect's been real hard to kind of grapple with. I think there's certain elements of it that feel like ET contact, and I've heard people suggest like a shadow people, or even like demonic you know, explanations. When I've tried to, like, when I go to the internet with the story, for example, or when I ask friends, I mean, everyone's account, I think, of what they think it might be is kind of colored by their belief systems and all this other stuff that, you know, influences them. Like, when I ask friends that are particularly religious, they tend to think it's more on the demonic side or more on the paranormal side, you know. But something about those green lights beforehand, and
that's weird.
What little I know about grays, something in me thinks that it might be an ET contact, you know.
So you described it having a large head, right? What and it looked like human, right?
Yeah, but it definitely, like, it looked like human in the sense that it had, you know, 2 arms, 2 legs, and, you know, a neck and a head, and it was humanoid for sure.
But it couldn't have been like an actual person.
It would be a one of one person if it was, and obviously, you know what I mean. Like,
very tall.
That guy would be easy to spot in the area.
Oh my gosh, bro! And I mean, plus, you know, the loss of control over the ataxia of my own body and stuff like that. It's just like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm fully convinced it wasn't a human, obviously, but you know, I try to place myself in the skeptic's viewpoint, and I suppose, like, just off how it looked, it could. I mean, no, it was not a human. Like, there's no way. Like, the size of the head on this thing was It's just when it's happening, I think your brain goes to whatever makes sense fastest and what you can kind of process. Upon first seeing it, obviously my brain was like, there's a huge dude in my room, like, you know, because I think that's the first connection that I could possibly make. You know, all I knew is that there is an unknown entity in my room.
Was it like bald, or did it have like any clothes or anything?
It didn't appear to have clothes, and it did not appear to have any hair either, because I remember the head being like very round, it definitely had a chin shape to it. It wasn't like a balloon head or anything. Like there's kind of an angular, right? Yeah, like my room was super dark, but so like there was definitely, I could tell it had dimension. Like I could see that there was shadow and stuff kind of playing off of it, and like they kind of let me know that it wasn't like just a silhouette necessarily, but it was so dark in there that features were largely lost, and it happened so fast that I don't think I could take in, like I didn't see eye shine or anything interesting like that, you know, but I definitely could tell.
So you can see like the eyes.
Yeah, I honestly I couldn't see the eyes, and that's kind of what was so jarring about it too, is when it looked at me, I had assumed it was already looking at me, but seeing the head shift towards me, I was like, oh my gosh, like this thing didn't, it almost like it was surprised that I saw it, you know. It's kind of the inclination I got, at least, you know.
So wait, so he wasn't there when you got up to look at the lights, but he was there when you turned around?
You know, if it was, I'd have to imagine that it was there when I got up to look for the lights, and I hadn't looked at the door initially. Like I saw the lights on the ceiling, and I immediately sat up and turned around, you know. But I have to imagine that it was there, and I just hadn't looked in its direction until after I turned back around. But it wasn't making a bunch of noise or anything that kind of, my first inclination was to look out the window to see what was causing the lights from like a natural source, like a car, or like even, you know, a different frat shining a laser pointer in our window or something, you know what I mean? Something like that, you know? But my inclination is that it was there, and it was doing whatever it was doing, assuming I was knocked out or whatever, you know?
Now, do you have like, I guess, like any kind of idea on why like an alien would be in your frat house, or like?
Yeah, I wish I did.
Or like,
I wish
or
I did.
Like, was the house known? Because you said people have also had like weird experiences. Is it known to be like almost like maybe like a haunted place? Like maybe something happened there. It's like haunted. Maybe it's more like a ghost or something.
I think there's a lot of, you know, emotionally charged, like I think like fraternity and sorority houses have a lot of emotional charge just from like the nature of like what they are, and there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of bad stuff that goes down there. There's a lot of, you know, fights. There's a lot of like, you know, all sorts of stuff. I feel like, that being said, yeah, I mean, again, the thing I saw was like, to me, 1,000% concrete. I know for a fact I saw it. So when other people tell me their accounts, I try and give them due diligence that they're telling the truth. But that being said, too, like, it wouldn't shock me if, you know, the guy that told the door story was like exaggerating a bit or what have you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I try to keep an open mind about that. But once you see something like that you can physically touch, it's really hard to you know, empathize too much with like the skeptical point of view. It's like this thing was right here with me. I wish I had a better answer, and I know it sounds kind of crazy. It's a frat house and an alien comes to visit you or whatever, you know. But I can't tell you why. I do think, I don't know if it's an abduction kind of situation. I don't know if this has been happening for a while and this is the first time I caught it. You know, I don't know if I've been visited for a long time. I just don't have those answers, unfortunately.
All right. Well, since it is, you know, you did live in a frat house, so I do feel a little inclined to ask. You
Mhm.
weren't on like any like you weren't drinking that night or like doing any kind of like drugs or whatever.
I'm not sure if I was drinking that night. To be honest, I definitely was drinking a lot at the time. You know what I mean? Generally
Yeah,
speaking,
yeah.
but I mean, I definitely wasn't like actively drunk or what have you. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
it's not like I'd been up until 3 a.m. drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. It honestly was largely part of the reason I struggle with alcoholism, and I think it's largely part of the reason that kind of led me on this path to eventually get sober, um, and stuff too. So in a lot of ways, I view it as a semi-positive experience. Like I think it was almost like a scared straight kind of thing in certain ways for me, and I think I kind of there's been times I even wondered if it was like a guardian angel kind of thing or like a you know
It
maybe
almost
like
seems like an omen.
yeah, right. I've definitely
Yeah.
considered possibilities like that as well. But don't have the definitive answers, unfortunately.
If you'd like to talk to Michael Paul or Mr. Curbs, shoot an email to thesinisterdistrict@gmail.com. That's thesinisterdistrict@gmail.com. You can also join the Sinister District Discord server in the description. This is the Sinister District.
Well, after this happened, you moved out. You were scared for your life. If this happened to me, I would want to know what that was. What happened? I guess you
Yeah.
just moved on, brush it off.
Yeah, there's only so much I could do too, you know what I mean? Like I definitely I checked every inch of the house. I like checked out the floor where it was standing. I was trying to find physical evidence and like, I'm a 20-something-year-old kid at the time and I don't have tools to like, DNA analysis or
Yeah.
anything like that, you know what I mean? Tracking or something, If I had
Yeah.
access to those tools, I would have used them because I mean, this was as real as if a black bear had been standing in my room or something, you know what I mean? Like this was like
Yeah.
an anomalous, crazy thing that I really wanted to get to the bottom of. And but a lot of what I could do was like post to places like Reddit or just kind of try and get people's insight and be like, has anyone seen this? Like, is this, how unique is this experience? And it seems like I made a post like the day after, and I've been really trying to find it ever since because I think I made it on a throwaway account, and I really wish I could find that post because I think it's going to be the most accurate retelling that I've ever done, just the freshest and stuff like that. But for the life of me, I can't seem to find it. So
this thing just stood there in the doorway and then it just vanished.
Yeah, it vanished after it was like I saw it staring at me until it slowly disappeared out of my vision. And then by the time I had regained control over my body, it was gone.
Wow.
And yeah.
And I do want to note that this is not sleep paralysis, folks. Yeah, he said he wasn't intoxicated. It's not a dream. So, what could this be?
Yeah. I get the inclination for the sleep paralysis thing too, especially with like the paralysis of the body. Like, I understand. I've had sleep paralysis in the past, you know what I mean? Before and after this event, but it was so different from the few times that I have experienced it. I woke up, I was perfectly calm, I was fully mobile, I was like moving around. You know, I don't know if have either of you ever had sleep paralysis before?
I never
No.
have.
No, I haven't.
From my experience, it's this like moment where you're either just going to bed or you're just kind of waking up, and you have this kind of like buzzing situation in your body. You feel like you can't move, and you have this like immediate feeling of just like doom kind of thing, like something bad's happening to you. Sometimes you feel like you're floating, sometimes you feel like you're sinking, you know what I mean? It's just like all this stuff. But the fact the fact that I woke up and I was more curious about the lights, like it wasn't this traditional like immediate fear situation. Like it was, you know, it was just me being awake and curious, and the fact that I like had checked the time, just all these little things like have slowly like let me allow myself to not accept the sleep paralysis explanation for this. It's just yeah, and I do get people's inclination, you know, to think it might be something like that. It's just, it's hard to describe. It's like going from fully awake sitting up to paralyzed and then forced to lay down, like all while just as you know, when I was able to get up, it's not like I had woken up. It's like my eyes were still open, you know what I mean? Like I just can't, it just wasn't, yeah, it wasn't any experience I've heard of sleep paralysis, you know. And the fact that I was just moving beforehand, just it's freaky. It's freaky to lose control over your body, you know what I mean? It's obviously it's never happened before, and it was a very powerless feeling, you know.
So you were just totally awake. This is a real encounter, and you know, what did your friends think once you moved out? They knew it wasn't a prank or anything. They were like, "Oh, this happened."
Yeah, and you know, I think it varies depending on who you would ask. I think some people thought maybe I was having just like a mental episode. The people I truly cared about, and you know, that care about me, definitely believed me. And even the ones that couldn't get to that logical step of being like, oh, this is an entity, like they believed that whatever I had experienced like had shaken me to my core, and it's like it's the only thing I would talk about for months, you know what I mean? Like it was a big event, and it was definitely not like just a passing like, okay, well, let's go get breakfast or whatever. Like I was on the internet just researching this thing like crazy, and I was like, it's the only thing I'd talk about. And I think I slept like, I'd like crash on one of my homies' floors like in the frat house for that week. I was kind of trying to figure out housing, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't want to sleep alone. I just was like, it's not happening, man. Like, so I think they believed me just based off my reaction alone, you know. I was shaken. So
wow.
Yeah, and I wish I had a better answer, as like more definitive answer as to what it was, but the more I think about it, those lights just keep coming back to me, and the size of the head. I just, part of me thinks it might have been like ET visitation, or
how big was
maybe
this head?
even. I'm trying to think of like a good thing to compare it to.
Was it like a watermelon size?
I'd say it's even bigger than that, honestly.
Shit, man.
Like I would say it was like almost like one of those big beach balls, but with a chin, you know? Like it was like huge.
Yeah, wait, did you see like any of his other facial features, or was it too dark? Like did he have a nose or a mouth?
The only thing I could see, I don't think it had a nose. I think if it did have a nose, it was like definitely not like a pointy, angular nose. The real thing, again, it was so dark that I didn't really understand what angle I was looking at this thing until its head had moved towards me, like to look at me. And then I was like, oh, that's the chin. Now it's looking straight at me. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's once it moved, I was able to gain a lot more like context of like, okay, this figure was looking sideways, and so what I'm actually seeing is like oh, I think I was seeing like a sideways view, like it was looking almost towards the door, you know.
Yeah.
And from what I could tell, it definitely had features on the face, but it was dark enough that it was like really hard for me to make out specific stuff. So like I think it did have like kind of almost like a kind of lump where the nose would be, but it was like just a very soft round, like it wasn't like a pointy human nose, you know what I mean? It was almost just like a soft little, yeah, I don't even, does that make sense? Like a mound or something?
Yeah.
Like a rounded a small protruding rounded thing, but like a little sharper, like its whole head and was very round besides the chin. I remember the chin being the standout part of being like, that's the angular part of this thing's face, you know. Everything else was like very circular.
Right, and you know it moved 100%. It wasn't like like a mannequin or anything.
Oh, dude, this thing looked at me so fast. Like, it's almost like it heard my thoughts, because the minute I was like, okay, time to whoop ass, you know? Like, the minute I was, like, about to jump up, it looked at me, like, simultaneously. Like, it almost was like it could just feel the energy shift in the room or something.
Oh, that's eerie.
From me being curious to me being, like, aggressive or what have you. And it squashed that, like, instantly, you know?
Yeah, it sensed you.
Yeah, that's how it felt, at least to me. It's like the minute it felt my energy change from, what are these interesting lights, to holy shit, I need to yell. I was about to yell for the boys and just start going to work, you know? Like that's just where my mind went. And it nipped that right in the bud, you know?
Wow. Well, what are our theories, Curbs? What do we think this is? What are your theories?
I think it might be like maybe like a ghost or spirit or some kind, something along those lines. Maybe I feel like it's actually maybe more of like an omen kind of thing. That's probably what I think it'd be.
I'm gonna say it is a shadow person.
Interesting.
But it's the thing is the green lights, right? But I don't know. That just could just be something else outside. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's true, and I've definitely given consideration to both those explanations as well. Like they definitely don't sit outside the realm of possibility to me. For whatever reason, the just geometric moving lights just struck me as so like tech, you know? It seemed like technology. It seemed like yeah, it just seems so organized and so unique, you know? I just if the lights weren't part of the experience for me, I'd immediately be right there with y'all. I'd say something paranormal, you know, something spiritual.
Yeah. Was that guy with the doors the only other like paranormal sort of encounter that happened in that house, or nah?
That's the only one that I recall hearing from someone that I think I gave credence to, you know what I mean? This was another person that was clearly pretty shaken up about it. They were reluctant to tell me at first, and honestly, the reason they told me this was because I was like, has anyone seen anything in this crib? Like what? Am I alone? You know? And one guy was like, well, this one thing happened. I didn't see anything, but the doors were open. And I was like, what? Every door in the house was open? He's like, yeah, I heard a bang, and then I went outside. And every door in the house was open.
Yeah,
and he's like, and then you know.
Yeah, that makes me think it's more of like maybe like a ghost kind of thing. Like it's like just something like haunting that specific house or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. It's an old spot. It is definitely an old spot.
I guess one thing you could do is maybe like almost like look at the history of. I mean, if you can, at that specific house, see if there's like any tragedies or any sort of like
Any churches?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Maybe I'll conduct a little more research into the physical, the physical spot. Yeah, that is a good idea.
There's nothing like near. It's just like the frat house and the other frat houses near.
I mean,
it, or?
Yeah, there's other frat houses. It was next to a mill race that's no longer used, which is kind of unique. I'm sure people got injured, working on the mill, in the past and stuff like that. But I'd have to do some more research. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of old buildings right in that neck of the woods, for sure.
Well, I mean, we got a frat house here, again, taken over by extraterrestrials. What would you guys do if this happened to you? Leave us a comment. And please send us an email if you have information or if you find E's Reddit post. That is the old one that he lost. So thank you for joining us, E. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, of course. It really means the world, guys. I appreciate you taking the time. And I can't express how nice it is to get to tell this story and have it received, with open arms and open mind. It means a lot.
Yeah.
No problem.
And before we leave, what do you think it is? Your final thought. You think it's an ET, right?
Yeah, I keep going back and forth between ET and Shadow Person. The fact that it had dimension to me and the fact that I saw those green lights, kind of, if I had to pick one, I'm leaning more towards ET, but that's really all I have to go on is that one, 2-minute long episode, event, what have you.
It's tough.
It's hard. Yeah.
Well, from the Sinister District and the great beyond, thank you for listening. And remember, if something takes control away from you, listen to what your fear is trying to tell you. Good night.